as if I just recruited you to be a student advocate. We're hiring next fall if you want to join, and it's really great because we're the Student Advocacy Center. We're located in MGC 264, and we're a student-run organization that's completely confidential and free, and we try to point you in the right direction. If a client comes in, it's usually because they break an academic integrity code, or they get in trouble with the university because of different student conduct violations. If we don't have the answer, we'll link you to it. People come in every day, and it's usually because they get in trouble with student conduct. So student conduct is no longer jams. It's no longer judicial and mediation services. So instead of being jammed, you're either going to get scissored or scurred because it's student conflict and
Student conduct and conflict resolution.
Thank you. Services, thank you. So now you're going to get scissored or scurred. I like scurred because it's hilarious. So you call, whatever you call it, it's student conduct, plain and simple. And here's how you get there. So our motto is, it's college, stuff happens, we get it. We're all students. We've probably been jammed or scurred before, not necessarily, but like our friends have, our neighbors have. It's not simple, but it's something that happens, and we understand that no student is perfect, and living and adjusting to dorm life and university life is difficult. So how do you get to this point? Well, you write the rules. Oh, it's supposed to say, so here's what went down. But, so you have an alcohol violation, physical assault, plagiarism, use or possession of alcohol in the presence of alcohol, dishonesty, drug violation, harassment, sale or distribution of drugs, sexual assault, failure to comply, a list of violations. People, when a client comes in, they're usually in hysterics, they're freaking out, they're really nervous, they're shaking. So they think that what they did is going to get them kicked out of school. They're thinking, oh my God, my roommate was drinking, and I got caught in the dorm with them, and they had a beer, and I was sitting there, and it was awful. And right there are like 20 different things I can tell them, and I'm just trying to calm them down and explain to them what's really going to happen. So let's take it back to the night of. When an RA knocks on your door, they're not the enemy. They're not trying to get you in trouble. Alex is an RA, so I feel like I'm telling, what is it, preaching on the fire? But anyway, they're there to keep the residence halls safe and fun, and they're trying to develop a campus community. So they're doing rounds. They'll usually knock on your door because of loud noise or a smell or something like clinking glasses or like, hey, pass that stuff this way, something that would make them want to knock on your door. So they're not allowed to open the door. They knock, RA on duty. I'm sure all of us have done it before. I mean, like I do it on to my friends because it's funny. But I mean, I think it is, but it's humor. So you know, they'll announce their presence. They're not allowed to go in the room. Only the RD, the resident director, is allowed to enter the room. They're allowed to key into your room. Once they're in the room, they'll explain why they're there. They'll ask you to put whatever they smell. If they smell marijuana down the hallway, they'd ask you to present any drugs that you have. If they smell alcohol, if there's a cup out, they'll ask if they can sniff that cup of orange juice to see if there's like vodka in there. So they're not allowed in your fridge or drawers or closets or anything like that. Only the RD is allowed to do that, or public safety. So in general, they'll be able to confiscate or ask you to dispose of anything that's in violation with the student conduct code or the law. And the biggest thing to remember, or to tell your client, is to be respectful of these individuals, or else you can be documented for willingly failing to comply with the directions of university officials for harassment or intimidation. So once this incident occurs, they'll file an incident report, and that's supposed to be within 15 days of the incident. If you get a report after that day, it's void. It doesn't matter. It didn't happen, which is kind of awesome, but that doesn't really happen. So here's where we come in. Your client comes in the office. Again, like I said, crying, shaking. A lot of times they're numb, they're pissed off. You know, my R's out to get me. You know, public safety, like they're not really officers, they're MPD, stuff like that. So you want to further explain their rights. And so you fill out a statement form basically saying your side of the story. The client, you know, again, it's, you know, the whole my R is out to get me, that's a lot of what will happen. You want them to understand the alleged violations. A lot of the violation things, or like the alleged violations, are very specific, very inclusive. There's one clause that says for marijuana, with the intent to use, possess, sell, or distribute. Those are all in one clause. You might not be selling or distributing, but you can be found responsible for that whole clause because you were using it and possessing it. So you want to make sure that they're very aware of the alleged violations. Again, like I said, I'll get to that later. You want to ask them if they think that they're responsible or not responsible for the charges against them. In a lot of cases, the kids come in because there's like a poster. We have like those fun little magnets that we gave out earlier in this year or last year. And they'll say, you know, my roommate was drinking. Or I came out of my friend's room, and in like Let's, there are those, like, you know, the mirror in the drawers, and like so it's hidden so you can't really see the alcohol. I didn't know there was alcohol in the room, I'm going to get in so much trouble. Not necessarily. The clause is willingly and knowingly in the presence of alcohol. If you didn't know that it was there, honestly, you know, how are you supposed to know? You just entered the room, how are you supposed to know? Willingly in the presence of alcohol, if your roommate is drinking, you're not, your roommate basically takes the blame, you know, claims responsibility for their actions, you shouldn't get in trouble. So a lot of people go into their conference or hearing blind, and there are very distinct differences between a conference and a hearing, which I'll go over, but a lot of times they're really afraid. So where do you go? After you get your incident report, you can either forego the conference, so you just don't show up and the student conduct just makes a decision for you. Like you don't get to tell your side of the story. You're responsible or not responsible, and they just give you sanctions. Or you can go to disciplinary conference, disciplinary hearing, or mediation. That's usually when there's like a conflict, like if your RA really is out to get you, that's when it'd be mediation. Okay, so hearing, conference. Two different things because there are two sets of serious. A conference, there's no appeal, and a hearing there is an appeal. That's because when you have a hearing, you're in danger of academic probation, academic probation, removal from housing, where like maybe you can't even visit housing, or residence halls. You can be suspended or you can be dismissed from the university. In a conference, that will not happen. It's more of like a censure, which is a formal warning. You'll have to write a reflection paper. Sometimes we suggest that maybe a better outlet would be an artistic outlet, so maybe you can make posters, you know, like your workload's heavy. Maybe you'll go to disciplinary probation, restitution, like paying back for stuff like that. So the conference. So disciplinary conference. At the disciplinary conference, you'll meet with the hearing officer. They'll inform you of your charges and question you regarding the incident. When you first come into the office, we'll sit down, try to be calm. Again, people are shaking, they think that the world's ending. So they're just going to want to get to know you. They want to get to know your character. So they'll say, you know, how are you doing? What are you majoring in? What are your other interests? Do you have friends? They want to see how you contribute to the university. Because if you're going to be a recluse and break the rules and you don't care, then there's an issue. They need to kind of nip that in the bud and re-assimilate you, I guess, as they're saying, back into the community. So this is your opportunity to ask questions and tell your side of the story as a client. So you know, you can have reasonable access to your file, and then you can have witness statements. To be found responsible for the charges against you, there has to be a preponderance of evidence, so like a likelihood of 51%. So if you're found responsible, the sanctions will be like community service, reflection paper, alcohol, EDU, stuff like that. A hearing. It's more formal. There's a panel. There's, yeah, so I just had one today. It's very fun. So it's a lot longer. It can last all day. It can last a few days. There's a panel. There's a faculty member, a university member, a student, the hearing officer who's setting it up, the complainant, the advisor to the complainant, the respondent, and the advisor to the respondent. This is where the Student Advocacy Center comes in. And I forgot to mention that before in the conference. As student advocates, you help them prepare. You help the students prepare. This is a really scary time. And you want to be the first person that they want to talk to. They obviously came to you because they knew you're confidential. They'll never, anything you say in the office will never leave the office. It's free. It's a resource. Often these people won't tell anybody but you. You're their lifeline. And often in conferences, like the first time alcohol violation, they won't, parents won't contact. So, you know, again, like, you know, it will be a noise violation, RA knocks on the door, they find alcohol, you know, they get sent the notification of what went wrong, and then, like I said before, it would just go to a conference, and after the first alcohol violation, the parents won't be notified unless there's like a serious health issue, like they think that you're a binge drinker and you've been transported a bunch. Marijuana. This is more serious. That would usually end up in a hearing if it was like, if you were thought to be dealing, because then you're a danger to the community. And you would be notified. Your parents would be notified. And actually I thought this was interesting because we were just talking about academic integrity a few classes ago. You know, not being familiar with the code isn't adequate enough. You know, the most commonly known forms of academic dishonesty involve like cheating and plagiarism, but also like collaboration when you're not supposed to collaborate. Using past class work for another class, like if I were to use this for another comm class, like that would be in violation of the code. So, let's see, your role. Again, you are not able to speak on behalf of your client. There are sometimes when I'm in the office and I hear a client talking to one of the advisors, and I just want to like jump up and say like objection, like this is ridiculous, and like, you know, protect them, because you feel like you're protecting your client. You feel like you're involved in the case, like you're emotionally invested. You spend a lot of time. You prepared them. You don't want any surprises once they go into that conference. But there's a fine line between that. Like you're not on, you know, CSI. You're not like a court system. You're just there to be the line in between the student and the university regulations. So our priority is to help people, specifically students. It's college, stuff happens, we get it. I'll say that again. And we know the rules and procedures of this university inside and out. So if you have any problems, come see us. We're happy to help.